Hello and welcome, Year 11. Welcome back to another lockdown journey with Mr. Lewin. It's just very strange not seeing you. I quite look forward to seeing your smiley face. I thought we got gone quite well towards the end of the term and we're really rocketing and going places, and we need to keep that going, don't we? You all know that and you all know why. Okay, so we're looking at resources. In this section we're looking at water. To start with, in your Google Classroom you'll have this slide presentation, but you also have your Google document to complete, and I'd like you to use that, and I'd like you to make sure that you do change the colour of fonts to purple when you are improving answers. So this is the first opportunity post Christmas to show me what you can remember and retrieve and practice this geography, so that we're ready for any assessments and exams that they want to chuck at us. We'll be ready for it. Okay, that's the spirit, guys. So if you put me on pause and have a go at this, and I'll go through and round it up for you and tell you what you should have put. Pause me. Unpaused. Well done. Okay, so geological hazard. If you haven't got this, you need to be typing this and putting it in purple. A geological hazard is a tectonic hazard, isn't it? It's something from the Earth. Geography is something about the Earth. So we're talking about tectonics, about earthquakes and volcanoes, and the hazards associated with those are things like ash clouds, lava flows, magma, volcanic bombs, buildings collapsing, stuff like that. Oceanic plates are different from continental plates because of where they're created, aren't they? The oceanic plate is created under the sea. The sea is pressurizing the magma as it comes up to the surface, so it's formed under pressure, so the crystals, the little shapes and little bits of it are tighter. It's more densely packed together. Whereas on the continent, there's nothing stopping it puffing up a little bit, maybe, if you take my weird science. That's my light going off. This happens in this office. It's starting to do my head in. But we'll go with it and we'll make it a bit of a meme. Mr. Lewin, is your light on? No. It keeps going off. It's not a very good meme, but we'll keep it going. Things that can make hazard risk greater include wealth. That's the biggest thing, guys. You know about Hicks, and you know about Licks, and you know about earthquakes that happen in Hicks and earthquakes that happen in Licks. And you know that when there's an earthquake in a Hick, people die. People die afterwards. And it takes, in a Lick, people die, and it takes a long time for the Lick to recover. So we looked at Nepal, and in Nepal, it's not good news. There's a tourist industry. They've rebuilt so slowly. It's not good, and it was very destructive because they weren't ready for it. Remember our 3 Ps. Did they plan for it? No, because they were poor. Did they protect themselves? No, because they were poor. Did they prevent it or predict it? No, because they were poor. And because they were poor, so many of them died. Whereas in New Zealand, it was much better. They did plan for it. They did protect themselves. They did prepare, and they predicted it was going to come. So not many people died, and everybody was happy because they're rich. Life's not fair. The focus in the epicenter is really simple. It's just a basic thing. Where the earthquake happens, that's the focus of the earthquake. The waves then shoot up and hit the surface. Where they hit the surface first, that's the epicenter. So that's the worst place to be because it's closest point of land to the earthquake. Reasons people live near hazards include, now this is where I want you to really think geographically. You are geographers. Think about places. Iceland. There's geothermic energy, there is free energy, they pump water down, it comes back hot so they can create electricity and they can heat their homes. They've got minerals coming out of the ground because they're brought up in the lava, so they can make themselves very rich selling those minerals and doing things with them. The soil is very good because the minerals and nutrients that come up with it, magnesium, copper, nitrogen, sodium, all of those good things that plants need, they're in the soil because the rocks break down and erode, don't they, in weather. So that's why, reason number 1 in Iceland. Reason number 2, it's quite a spectacular and pretty place. Iceland's quite breathtaking, but also Sicily in Italy. Mount Etna is breathtaking, it's amazing. It creates a lot of jobs for tourism. There's lots of good agriculture there because of that soil again. In South Africa, there's diamond mines, there's gold mines in India, where tectonic processes have created these mineral wealths. Those are the main reasons. There's one final reason, is because they've always lived there and they're too poor to leave. It might be a poor, low-income country and they're trapped. Anyway, if you haven't, you can add some of those details there. I'm just going to let you pause me again. hopefully I'm unpaused now. We're looking at water. Okay, and we're going to look at the demand for water, how we manage our quality and pollution of water courses. We'll look at supply and demand, and we're going to look at how we can match that supply to that demand. And that's what we're going to cover in the next few lessons. So we'll look at the resource that is water. We looked at food, and I thought was jolly interesting food, but we're looking at water in the UK now, which I think is also jolly interesting, so stick with me. How can we look at the demand? Right, here's a nice guy, he's a BBC guy, he's going to go through a video. I'm not going to go through this video with you. This is something you do on your own. Put your answers, please, on the document, the sheet document, or the slide document that goes with this, and put your answers on there for me, please. There he goes. Crazy man. Why are we using more water in the UK than in the past? Right, that's your question. Read the next slide and then summarise it in your own words in the document. You need to scan really quickly the next slide. You need to pick out the key elements, and you need to summarise, which is a high-level skill, and only bright people like all of you lot can do it. It means you pick out the key information and you put it in succinct and as short as you can. So we're looking at like 4 or 5 key points here for you to remember. So why are we using more water in the UK than in the past? You're going to be able to answer that question very shortly. So if you want to put me on pause and have a look at the slideshow, and you can look through and pick out the 4 reasons. Okay, I'm back in the room. And largely it's about us having a bigger population, isn't it? And having greater technology and more, I love this word, profligate use of water. Now we've talked before about flushing perfectly good drinking water down our toilets, but we do worse than that. We do it in our agriculture, we do it all over industry. We use the best water in the world as if it's just a waste product to do things with. So we need to make sure that we're actually a little bit more worshipful of this water. Okay, thank you. And we need to be more worshipful of this water and make sure we treat it as a precious resource that it is. Okay, pause me if you like, move on. No worries. So here we've got a lovely map here. I'm just going to move myself out of the way. We've got a lovely map here of the UK, and it's a choropleth map. Choropleth map. Remember that name. It basically means the darker it is, the heavier it is, or the darker it is, the more it is. The darker it is, the denser it is. The darker it is, the greater it is. You get the flavour? It can be for anything. In this case, it's rainfall. The darker it is, the rainier it is. So we've got this lovely little bit of the UK down here, and we've got where we live is quite a rainy place. All the western part of the UK is quite a rainy place. The north is particularly rainy, but the east side, all the way down, is pretty dry in comparison. It's the other end of the spectrum, isn't it? And there's some bits in the Midlands that's very similar. It's almost like all of our rainfall comes from the west. Anyway, can you look at that? Can you describe the distribution of rainfall in the UK? And before I put myself on pause and you do this, how do we do this? How do we do this thing? That's right, TDAC. Okay, give yourself 4 minutes on a timer and go for it. Use the data. Off you go. Okay, you've done it on your Google Classroom, hopefully, so I can have a good look at that and see who's getting the flavour of this and getting the idea. There's a nice line there. Look. Now, this is interesting. It's a very similar map. It's a choropleth map. Do you remember what choropleth map means? Okay, so the darker it is, the heavier it is, the denser it is. So in this map, where it's dark is where most of the people live. Now, we saw a very clear pattern in the rainfall map that it was mainly in the west and some in the north. In this case, we can see that most of the people don't actually live in the north or in the west. Most of the people live in that Midlands bit, that south bit, and on the east, which is stupid. Why are we living where there's less water? Why don't we live where the water is? It's probably because where the water is where it's really high and hilly and mountainous and not easy to build. But anyway, describe the distribution there. You know how to do it. It's a DAC. Okay, then we've got a comparison now of the two maps, and it doesn't make sense. Where the rain is, where the people are, we need to move that water to where the people are. I'm sure that's what we're going to come up with. It's going to come idea. So where is there water surplus in the UK? Where is there water deficit? Have a look and do that task for me on your Google Classroom. There's some sentence starters, I think. You can use this to check in Purple Pen, but you've probably got this anyway, because the deficit is where there's not enough, the surplus is where there's too much. Surplus, north and west in the highland areas, largely. Deficit, where the population centres are, in the opposite sort of parts of the UK. So anyway, green pen that, purple pen that. Okay, I like my new signal, by the way. That wasn't a signal. I like my new signal. So water stress is caused by places, people living in places where there isn't enough water. So therefore, the whole area is under stress. The whole biodiversity is under stress because we're taking water out of rivers, canals, the ground, and keeping it in reservoirs or using it, and the whole ecosystem environment is implicated or is bothered by this. And the biggest problem is the southeast of England, where you've got London, the biggest population centre, and the surrounding population centres around it are just, there isn't enough water. So we need to do something as a country. Any theories right now? Maybe you can put a theory on your sheet right now about what you're thinking. What could we do? What is a solution? I'm not sure. Anyway, what can we do? Look at the map opposite. How do you meet demand and supply? What could we do? What things could we do? We could do reservoirs. We could do transfer schemes. I don't know. Have a think and go through those questions on your Google Classroom document, please, and have a go at that for me. These are the places that are proposed need the water. They're all cities, isn't that interesting? And these are the places where we could maybe build. There are some reservoirs already that's holding water. So these are the proposals. Move the water from the reservoirs to the cities. So basically steal the water from where it lands and put it where it's needed. Well, not a good idea. It's called a water transfer scheme. Not a bad idea altogether. Okay, there's loads of stuff on here. Look at that one. That's massive, isn't it? Taking the water from the north of England and in Scotland, where it rains an awful lot, all the way down to London. I mean, what could possibly be a barrier to that, or a challenge? Same for Wales, all the way into Bristol. What could possibly be a challenge to that? What could stop that happening? Yeah, maybe the cost. Managing water is an example of a water zone. There's a river that flows from the northwest of England all the way into Newcastle in the east. So you've got big Newcastle, Sunderland, Middlesbrough, big urban area. You've got a big hilly area here, there's lots of rain, you've got these rivers coming in. That's what's going on there. What implication does it have, though? If we take the water out and put it into Newcastle, what implications does that have? And there's some good information here, and some good diagrams and things here for you to look at. And there's a task there. I'm not going to dwell on this. I'm going to let you go away and do that. Okay. Water treatment works. So water treatment, we know we get nice clean water for our drinking water, and our rivers are a really high quality standard, and our beaches are generally high quality standard nowadays. It's not the same when I was your age. When I was your age, I was getting injections to stop me getting hepatitis from the water in the rivers and the sea, because we didn't used to bother pumping dirty, clean water back into our rivers. We pump dirty water straight back in, raw sewage, effluent and nastiness. So this is what we do. We take our sewage system and then we really do filter it through lots of different steps, including sludging tanks and other things, so that when it goes back in to the system, it's actually really clean and it's actually drinkable. So water should be moved from the north of England to satisfy demand in the southeast. Discuss. This is a big question. I know some of you will ignore this question, and that will make me cross, and I will phone you up and tell you I'm cross. Please do this question. Do this question properly. Show me that you've come back from Christmas ready and raring to go, and you're as up for geography as I am up for geography, and that we bonded, and you're not going to let me down. Okay, so discuss. You must use your hands. You must go, on the one hand it's a positive because it will do this, on the other hand it's a negative because it will do this, and then you must have a conclusion. You must peel, and you must bugs this question for me, please, with some planning straight after it, because that's how we do things here. Okay, I'm going to let you carry on and do that, and I think that's the end of the presentation, to be fair. and I'm going to have a good look at your Google Classroom work, and I'll give you some feedback. It's good to see you. Good to be back. I'm missing you, obviously, but I will see you again. Hopefully for just after this short lockdown. Okay, see you later, guys.